welcome back to my channel. Welcome back to another reading vlog. As I'm filming this, it is currently May 4th. I have finished 24 books so far this year, and out of those 24 books, only 2 of them have been 5-star reads. My goal for this reading vlog is to read as many 5-star books as possible. I have a couple of anticipated reads / books on my radar that I think I will rate 5 stars. So let's see how many 5 stars I can get in one video. When I am reading it, I can't put it down. I have hopes that it could be either rated very highly or it could be 5 stars. I used to rate 5-star books based on plot and intrigue and how fascinating a book was, on top of how emotionally connected I felt to the characters or to what was happening to the characters. Recently, I've been reading a lot more general fiction, contemporary fiction type of books, and I think that I've been tying 5-star reads to just emotion pretty much. So that's loosely what I'm basing my 5-star ratings off of. If I feel emotionally connected to the story, if the plot line itself is interesting and intriguing and I want to keep reading. If I cry, usually that's a good sign that it's a 5-star. And I'm not sure what I'm going to start with first, so we'll see in the next clip. First book that I decided to start was Dungeon Crawler Carl by Matt Dinniman. This is the first book in a series of I think 8 books so far, and it is a science fiction lit RPG. This book is based on Carl, who gets kind of sucked into this televised game show in which he has to fight for his life essentially through different dungeon levels. And the reason he gets sucked into this game is because he's out one night trying to find his ex-girlfriend's cat who snuck out the window, and all of a sudden there's a voice in his head telling him that the apocalypse has happened and that you can become a dungeon crawler. Otherwise, you have to survive on your own in this post-apocalyptic world. So unbeknownst to him, he kind of enters into the portal that takes you into the dungeon, but none other than his ex-girlfriend's cat, Princess Donut. So I think throughout the series, we're going to be following Carl and Princess Donut while they kind of battle their way through the dungeons. I'm only on chapter 4, which is page 34, so I'm not very far along, but I'm enjoying it so far, and I do think it's going to be a very immersive experience. We're learning what the world is looking like, and we're learning how the dungeons work alongside Carl. Based on other people's reviews of this book, I definitely think it could be a high contender to be a 5-star. I don't know, we'll see. But that's the first book that I'm starting for my 5-star predictions. Reading update, I am now about 40-ish% of the way through Dungeon Crawler Carl. I'm on page 169, chapter 22. So just under, I guess, halfway. It's not giving me that 5-star feeling, which is a little bit unfortunate. However, I am really enjoying it. And even if it's not going to be a 5-star, I think it's going to be rated pretty highly. And I think I'll want to continue the rest of the series. So even though I didn't find a 5-star book, possibly because I'm only 40% of the way through, it is definitely a very immersive experience. I just spilled coffee all over my desk, so had to clean that up real quickly, and now angle change. But I don't even remember what I was talking about in my update. I'm so frazzled by having spilled my coffee. Yeah, anyways, crisis averted. Continuing my discussion on Dungeon Crawler Carl, I can't remember what I was talking about, but anytime I'm not reading the book, I'm not necessarily enticed to pick it up and keep reading. However, when I am reading it, I can't put it down. I am interested to see what goes on in the rest of the story. It is not feeling like a 5-star yet, but I do think that could change, so. Reading update, it's been 4 or 5 days since I last filmed my last clip, but I finished a book and I started a new book, so here is my reading update. I finished Dungeon Crawler Carl. I think the last clip I filmed is a clip of me at 11:30 p.m. saying I have 100 pages left. I did not finish the book that night. I did finish it the next morning though. I had like 40-ish pages left, but finished Dungeon Crawler Carl. Unfortunately, it was not a 5-star. Fortunately, I did really like it, so I think I'm going to continue on with the series. I rated this book 4.5 stars. It was pretty close to a 5-star, just not there yet. And I think the reason why is writing just wasn't there, and I feel like that's usually what has driven me like past the point of a 4 or 4.5 to a 5-star, and I just didn't fully get that from this book. But it was an epic adventure, and I'm very excited to see what Carl and Princess Donut get up to next. We are getting a little bit more into the world building, I guess, in terms of like what's happening behind the scenes of the dungeon game and the political system that's at play with the government and everything. So that I'm excited for, and if it wasn't already obvious, I am still sick. I'm on like day 15 or something of being sick. I got better slightly. I lost my voice for like a day or two. Now it's coming back a little bit. The next book I started was And Now Back to You by B.K. Borison. I read one B.K. Borison book before. I can't remember what it was called, but I didn't really like it that much. I think I gave it like 3 stars. But I saw a lot of good reviews for And Now Back to You. This book is based on Delilah Stewart and Jackson Clark. I don't know why I said both their full names, but Delilah and Jackson. Delilah works as a reporter for a TV station, and Jackson is a meteorologist working at a radio station. Actually, I think Delilah is also a meteorologist, and they're kind of forced to work together to cover a storm that's coming up in Baltimore, and they are complete opposites. Delilah is very spontaneous, disorganized, very much a free bird, and Jackson is the complete opposite. He thrives on like being organized. He thrives on schedules and things being exactly the way he wants it to every single day. They're complete opposites, and Jackson kind of dislikes her, and now they're forced to work together. And originally I wasn't going to read this for this video because I didn't think it would be a 5-star, but now that I'm like 20% of the way through, I have hopes that it could be either rated very highly or it could be 5 stars. I'm really enjoying this. It's dual POV, so we get perspectives of both Jackson and Delilah. Delilah has her own problems and her own kind of aspirations. The reason why she's doing this joint broadcast together is that her boss has been really rude to her and giving her like the worst assignments ever when all she really wants to do is report on the weather. Jackson, on the other hand, he has taken full custody of his 2 younger sisters because his mom is kind of like very flighty. He wants to take on the assignment because he wants to kind of step out of his comfort zone a little bit more. So that's my update on that. I'm going to continue reading this, and hopefully it'll be a 5-star. Over 50% of the way through with Now Back to You, and I'm still really enjoying it. I have very high hopes that this could be a 5-star. I have not felt this way about a contemporary romance book in a really long time. I'm now over 50% of the way through, so I kind of started escalating aspects of the relationship further, and things are developing, feelings are being shared, stuff like that. The only thing that I think could prevent me from rating that a 5-star is I know there's going to be a third act conflict. I'm not sure what it's going to be yet. Whatever it is, that could ruin it. And then the second thing is they have known each other for a really long time, but they've never really like been friends or interacted or anything. They've kind of just known each other very surface level. And they're spending about a week together doing this snowstorm podcast together. And I really hope it doesn't escalate to the point where they're saying like, oh my god, like I think I'm in love. And it's only been a week, because stuff like that is what grinds my gears in romance books, when they've only spent like a week together or 2 weeks together or like a month, and they're already thinking like they're falling in love, which I think is definitely possible, especially at an older age when you kind of already know your relationship style, what you look for in a partner and stuff. But I don't know, it feels very unrealistic to me, but I know it does happen. I just don't like reading about it in romance books. That's my update on And Now Back to You. I also started the Unselected Journals of Emma M. Lyon Volume 4 yesterday. I've been listening to this series exclusively on audiobooks. I haven't physically read it yet, but I kind of want to switch to reading it. It's just been always available at my library, so I listen to it through Libby. What this series is about Emma M. Light, and it's pretty much like you're reading her journal the entire time, and she inserts her personal thoughts in between her recounting her day, and it's so fun. Emma M. Light is kind of historical fiction. I think it's based in the 1860s, I want to say. I could be wrong, let me check. It's based in the 1880s. I've heard that the series just gets better and better. Such a witty, funny character, and her journal entries are also so fun. Based on how much I'm enjoying the series, I think it could be a 5-star. I might switch to Kindle because they're on Kindle Unlimited, unless I have more things to do that I need an audiobook for. Then I'll keep it on audio. But those are my reading updates. To go make dinner soon, but quick little reading updates. I finished And Now Back to You by B.K. Borison. I really enjoyed it. I haven't enjoyed a contemporary romance book to that degree in a really long time. I love Delilah and Jackson as characters. They were both so witty, and their banter between each other was very fun to read about. As I was reading, I definitely feel like I could feel the chemistry and tension, and I think that B.K. Borison did a very good job of illustrating what it's like to kind of meet someone and know each other on a level that you feel like you can't expose to other people. I feel like that's how Delilah and Jackson find each other, and that's what they see in each other and how they develop such a deep connection so fast. Although in saying that, I do think it was a bit insta-lovey. I also kind of wish that we got a little bit more emotional depth into their background, that their personal problems were a part of the story. It was kind of intertwined well, but I felt like after the relationship progressed that those personal problems kind of went away for a little bit, and then it just abruptly came back near the end of the story. Those were kind of factors that made me not dislike the book, because I still really loved it. Unfortunately, it wasn't a 5-star, but I did really enjoy it, so I think I'm going to give it a 4.5 star. That is my update on that. I'm also a little bit further into the Unselected journals of Emma M. Line. I love Emma as a character. I don't know for sure if there will be romance, or I don't know for sure if there's going to be a romantic plot line throughout the story, but Emma currently is single. She isn't being courted by anyone necessarily, but it also isn't her season, but she is forming a friendship / relationships with 3 different men right now. There's definitely one of the men that I'm rooting for more, and every time they have an interaction, even outside of me reading it, when I'm thinking about the series, I'm I really hope they end up together, because I really love their interactions, and it seems like they have a good rapport with each other. Then when she's recounting interactions she's had with the other 2 men that she kind of has a friendship relationship with, I start thinking, you know what? I actually don't care who she ends up with. I like all 3 of the men that she's currently talking with and having relationships with. None of them are actually courting her or anything. I guess they're more kind of just friendly, but she's also had thoughts about oh, what if I married this person? I'm very excited to see what goes on. I am also reading on my Kindle because I've never rated an audiobook 5 stars before, because I feel like it's hard for me to fully connect when I'm only listening to an audio, and I have a good feeling about volume 4. So I'm also reading it on my Kindle. Another reading update. Last night I started Talking at Night by Claire Daverley. I am very excited for this book. I'll read the synopsis because I don't think I can actually give a good recap of what it's about, since I've only read 4 pages. Me reading the synopsis is what kind of convinced me that I think it might be a 5-star. This book is about Will and Rosie. The 2 are opposites in every way, and yet they fall for each other as teenagers. 90s music, sideways glances, sunsets and bonfires, and talking late into the night. Until one day, tragedy strikes and any possibility of being together seems to shatter. But time and again, Rosie and Will find their way back to one another. Talking at Night tells a story of sudden connections, missed opportunities, the many loves we have over a lifetime, and the one that keeps us coming back again and again for more. This book sounds right up my alley. But yeah, I'm very excited to read this. Like I said, I don't have much thoughts on it so far because I only just started, but hopefully I'll get into it a bit more tonight. Last night I got a good chunk into Talking at Night, and I'm really enjoying it. Right now we're following Will and Rosie as they kind of get introduced to each other and become somewhat friends. Prior to them meeting for the very first time, they went to the same school for the past 7 years, and they didn't really know each other at all. He has a reputation as being like the brooding kind of bad boy of the school. He's been suspended before, he owns a motorbike, etc. And for her, she is a really good student, and all she wants to do is like get good grades in her exams and get into a good university. And she has a twin named Josh. I have a slight suspicion of where the plot is going to go, or certain aspects of the plot and certain character developments are going to go. So I'm kind of seeing if that plays out or not. It's not outright mentioned, but I believe Rosie does have OCD. That's kind of where I'm at with the story right now. I just wanted to give a quick update because I'm really enjoying it, and I have 5 hours. Reading update. I just got back from Flower Festival, or it's originally called the Tulip Festival, but tulips are out of season, so they now have lupins and peonies, which was so fun to walk through. Anyway, reading update. I did finish volume 4 of MM Line, and I did rate it 5 stars, so my first 5-star read of this video. I'm really enjoying the MM Line series. This one is my favorite. Volume 2 has been my favorite up until I read volume 4. The thing is with this book, I feel like there wasn't even anything that made it a 5-star based on like my past criteria of what is a 5-star. The plot is very slow, really just following Emma in her day-to-day life. I really enjoyed it, and I love the friendships that she's forming with the people in St. Crispian's. That was my 3rd 5-star of the year. I'm really enjoying it. I love Emma and her friend group that she's forming, and I am now Pierce's #1 fan. That's all I have to say. Also, secondary reading update. I am very close to finishing Talking at Night. I have like 50 pages left to go, and I'm definitely going to finish this today, just not right now, but I do have plans to finish this book today. I don't think I've given much of an update on Talking at Night since I started, but really liking the writing. Will and Rosie are definitely in a very tumultuous situationship of sorts. I think it's like going on over a decade now that they've been through this back and forth, kind of neglecting each other and then being back in each other's lives, and just a lot of back and forth. And I can see why people wouldn't like this book and why they would not want Will and Rosie to end up together. And I can see why people would not root for this couple at all. I love books like this that span years and years of time. And at some point they may be the best of friends, and then they drift apart and they're strangers, and they come back again and they're friends again. It's kind of reminding me a bit of One Day by David Nichols. I only have 50 pages left, and I have very so we'll see how it goes. It is now a few days later, so I'm here with my final reading update. On a side note, I got flowers from going to the flower festival, and look at how my tulips have bloomed. It's only been like 3 days. I went on Saturday, today's Tuesday. Look how my flowers have bloomed. It's so crazy. I don't know why the yellow tulips haven't bloomed at all, but the pink tulips have bloomed. Anyways, final reading updates. I finished Talking at Night. Overall, I really enjoyed this book. Story is just so tender and precious, and I think my favorite thing about the book was definitely the writing. There were a lot of quotes that I wanted to annotate in writing that I kind of just sat with for a bit because I really liked how the author had put some things. So this is definitely a book that I can see myself rereading again in the future and then annotating it then. And like I said, Will and Rosie's story was just so tender. There was definitely a lot of hardships and things they went through, and it was basically a 12+ year situationship. I enjoyed it. I don't think I would ever wish this upon anyone that I know in real life, but reading about it is very fun. I was just really rooting for Will and Rosie to be together the entire time, and rooting for them as individual characters as well. They are definitely dealing with problems in their own personal life that impact the way they react in their relationship and impact their reasons for not being together. And I will say, I do see the negative reviews of people saying that Rosie doesn't deserve Will and Will doesn't deserve Rosie, and they're both terrible characters. Like, they definitely aren't the most likable characters, so I feel like that's what makes the characters more real and what makes the story more moving. I love how this book spanned over multiple years, and we see how their relationship/friendship developed and how their lives were at the time. That aspect of the book, I really enjoyed it. And although this was a romance book, I feel like the main point of the story wasn't if they will end up together, but it's what they will become by the end of the story. So it was a lot about like self-discovery, and at the end of the book they are both so sure of themselves. They're no longer as insecure as they were at the beginning of the book, and they were still dealing with problems that they were at the beginning of the book, but they were able to handle it a lot better and find ways to cope
cope as well as find ways to be more assured of themselves. And at the end of the day, they still wanted to be together. If you can't already tell, I did give this a 5 stars as well. So we ended up with 2 5-star reads from this video, which was pretty successful because not only did I get 2 5-star reads, but the other 2 books that I read in this video, I also rated them pretty highly. So overall, this has been a very successful few reading weeks. If you read any of the books that I read in this video, I'd love to know what you rated it, you enjoyed it, and if you plan to read any of the books that I read in this video, I would also love to know what you end up rating it and how you enjoyed the book. If you want to keep up to date with what I'm reading outside of YouTube videos, my Goodreads and Fable are always linked down below. That pretty much wraps up this video. Thank you so much for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.